They called you a storm, yet forgot one thing: storms don't kneel, they rise. Picture this for a moment. Chosen one, someone decides to construct a fake version of you, cheap, shallow, and ugly, then spreads it around like gossip candy. While they're busy painting you black in the minds of others, the universe is quietly illuminating you like a full moon in a sky they cannot cover. They labeled you the villain, the problem, the one to avoid. But now people are looking again, realizing the real danger was never you, it was the storyteller. The truth has a way of burning through lies. Lies have short legs, but the truth runs marathons. Real energy only grows brighter with time, and yours has become impossible to dim. Even studies show that authenticity can be sensed on a subconscious level. It's not something that can be faked forever. And while they've been sweating in the shadows of their own deception, you've been rising into a light that doesn't lie. So thank you, chosen one. And remember, this light isn't just for you. Pay it forward. Press like, subscribe, and help spread this message so more souls can find their way through the darkness. You are not alone. You are part of a force. But back to the truth we can't ignore. Someone out there is panicking, not because you failed, but because you didn't. Because you became everything they swore you could never be, and even better. They buried you under layers of false stories and venom, but your energy refused to stay hidden. Your glow now is so undeniable that even those who once believed the lies are starting to second-guess everything, and it's eating your enemies alive. The worst part for them, they can't stop the truth now. It's moving through minds, conversations and timelines, cracking open the shell they built around your name. They wanted you to be the shadow, but the spotlight found you anyway. And now the same people who once nodded along with their hate are whispering, "Wait, what if we got it wrong?" That's not just revenge, that's justice unfolding on its own. Because the universe doesn't let energy lie forever. No matter how convincing a mask appears, it always starts to peel when the truth gets close. And now their lies are peeling like cheap paint in a storm. One by one, the cracks in their version of the story are showing. What they never realized is that your silence was never weakness, it was transformation. You didn't waste your energy defending yourself because the universe was already building your case. You were too busy becoming, growing, and aligning with something so powerful that no smear campaign could touch it. Every time they laughed at your name, the universe added another spotlight. Every attempt to erase your worth carved it deeper into the respect of those who matter. And now that the dust is settling, what's left standing? Not their words, not their lies, just you, solid and seen. They hate it. They hate that the more they lied, the more you became the living proof of their dishonesty. They hate that their version of you aged like spoiled milk, while the real you bloomed. They hate that people now watch you not with suspicion, but with awe. The truth is, they never hated you for being bad. They hated you for being powerful, misunderstood, and impossible to control. Your existence threatened the mask they wore. You were never too much. You were simply too real for the fake world they built. And now that false world is crumbling. Here's the twist. The same mouths that once spit poison are now silent because deep down they know they've exposed themselves. Lies only hold power if people agree to believe them. Once that agreement shatters, so does the lie. And that's exactly what's happening now. So stand tall, chosen one, not because you have something to prove, but because you already proved it by existing, glowing, and refusing to become what they said you were. You never had to clear your name, the truth did that for you. And as their illusion fades, your presence becomes the reality people trust. This is the beginning of your redemption arc, the one they never saw coming. The more they scramble to repair the damage, the more the universe hands you the microphone. They didn't just fail to destroy you, they built the stage for your comeback. So if this truth is striking something deep within you, that's because it's meant for you. Drop a comment with 88 if you're done letting their lies define you, and you're ready to step fully into your true light. And if this message has lifted even a fraction of the weight off your soul, consider sending a blessing, a word, or a gift of appreciation. Every ounce of support fuels this mission to cut through the noise and reveal what's real. You're not just watching this, you're part of the force that's waking people up. Now stay with me, because if you truly are the one they lied about, then you're also the one whose truth will shake the room. In this next part, it's where the mask finally starts to fall off. Let's begin. Number 1, when they pointed fingers at you, they forgot that every single one of those fingers was coated in their own filth. The loudest accuser is often the most skilled liar in the room, trembling under the weight of their own reflection. Chosen one, let's not dress this up. It wasn't simple gossip. This was psychological warfare disguised in false concern and polished smiles. They didn't just tell lies about you, they projected every shadow of their own rot onto your name like a twisted mirror. Every wound they carried, they pinned to your chest. Every flaw they buried inside themselves, they stitched into your identity. Why? Because if they could paint you as the problem first, no one would look closely enough to see the disaster they truly are. Have you ever walked into a room and felt the air tighten, wrapping around your skin like barbed wire? Not because you did anything wrong, but because your presence threatened the fragile lie they were all clinging to. That's exactly what this was about. Your authenticity made their masks sweat. Your honesty made their performances harder to sustain. The truth you live by is a danger to any space addicted to pretending. So rather than face themselves, they formed a chorus to tear you down. Imagine a mirror walking into a masquerade that was you, but instead of taking off their masks, they tried to shatter the mirror. They couldn't handle the light you carried, so they launched a preemptive strike, twisting the script before you even had a chance to speak. They cast you as the villain in their production before the audience had time to figure out. That was the strategy: confuse you, isolate you, break your confidence, and keep you too tangled in self-doubt to expose them. But here's the part they didn't see coming. They thought you would break. They expected you to claw and scream, to throw dirt just to prove you were clean, but you didn't. You refused to roll in the mud with them. You let them talk while you transformed. You let them spin their stories while you stayed silent, and let the universe do what it does best, unfold the truth in its own time. And now they're terrified, because people are starting to notice that your light never needed defending, and their lies have begun to rot in the open air. Projection only works when no one looks too closely, but time forces people to look. And the more they look, the more they realize that nothing about you matches the story they told. Your life doesn't align with their accusations. Your energy doesn't fit their labels. Their mask is slipping, and underneath, the truth is plain. You are not who they said you were. You are the opposite. They called you weak, yet you endured. They called you fake, yet you stayed real when it cost you everything. They called you dangerous, but the truth is they just couldn't control you. Think of it like this: a moth hates the flame, not because the flame has wronged it, but because the flame proves the moth's world was built in darkness. That's you. You didn't set out to expose them, but your very existence burned holes in their illusion. Like fragile winged moths, they panicked. They tried to smother your fire, but instead they spread it. Now people are whispering, re-watching scenes in their minds, realizing how much never made sense. The crowd that once nodded along with the lies is starting to see the squirming liar for who they are, and that without rage, without retaliation, is your revenge. You didn't need to destroy them, you only needed to survive them. Their house of cards built on your name is collapsing, and they're scrambling to patch the holes in their sinking ship while you've already sailed into calmer waters, glowing like a lighthouse for others lost in similar storms. Let them panic, let them sweat. Because their worst fear is unfolding in real time, you didn't just survive the slander, you thrived in spite of it. Now you're living proof that lies don't stick, they reflect, and that's their nightmare. Because once a lie is exposed, it doesn't just disappear, it drags the liar down with it. They wanted to drench you in shame, but they're the ones drowning in it now. They started the fire, but you became the wildfire. They can't contain. Let them trip over their words. Let them rewrite the past in desperation. It won't save them. Your truth is loud, without you ever having to raise your voice. You were never the villain, you were the mirror. And now that it's shattered, the only thing left for the world to see is their true reflection. Quick pause, family. If this message is resonating with your soul and you'd love to support this sacred work, feel free to buy me a coffee. It keeps this space flowing with truth, light, and divine clarity. Link is. The enemy convinces themselves you've disappeared. They kept shouting to the world that you were the storm, but the real storm began the moment you walked away. Chosen one, make no mistake. What you did wasn't an act of fear, it was an act of mastery. They expected you to react with noise, to fight back in desperation, to wrestle with their lies in the mud. They wanted you tangled in chaos, swinging blindly, begging to be heard, but instead, you stepped into a silence so strategic they couldn't decode it. You gave them nothing. No explanations, no defenses, no tears to feed their story, and that was your checkmate. Imagine a bomb going off in a room, smoke fills the air, alarms scream, and the person they blamed is suddenly gone. They expect the chaos to end with your absence, but instead, it grows louder. The mess spreads, the same arguments erupt, the same toxicity festers, only now there's no one left to blame. That's when the questions start. Wait, was it really them, or was it always this bad? This is what happens when truth walks away. It leaves behind a silence that reveals everything. While they were using your name as a mask for their dysfunction, you slipped into sacred quiet and began doing the one thing that truly terrified them. You started to heal. And it wasn't just surface healing, it was deep, soul-anchored recalibration. You weren't hiding, you were rebuilding from the inside out. You took every wound they left you with and stitched it into wisdom. You transformed the isolation they meant as punishment into a sanctuary of growth. You didn't lose your voice. You realized it was too precious to waste on lies, and while they screamed your name in blame, your absence began speaking for itself. The drama they swore you caused was still there. The noise they pinned on you grew even louder, and the people who once doubted you began to turn toward the true source of the chaos. It was like a haunted house that blames one person for every creak, every flickering light, every cold shiver, until that person moves out, and the ghost starts screaming louder than ever. That's what happened when you stepped away. Their lies lost their shield. Their dysfunction no longer had a decoy, and the spotlight at last began to turn inward. If you're wondering whether you did the right thing by not defending yourself, the answer is yes, absolutely, because they were never seeking truth, only control. They didn't want clarity, they wanted chaos, and your silence robbed them of both. You didn't walk away from the fire, they lit it, and you let it burn without you, allowing everyone else to see exactly what it was made of. Maybe you've worried that they convinced everyone before the truth could rise. Let them. Time is undefeated, and the silence of a chosen one weighs more than 1,000 lies screamed in desperation. The universe has a way of delivering truth at the exact moment it needs to be seen. The people who matter are already connecting the dots, and they no longer need your voice to make sense of the story. Think of plants. Now they can't reach you the same way. They can't provoke you, can't read you, can't use you, and that loss of control, it's driving them insane. They're like people yelling at a locked door, convinced you're still inside, only to realize you left long ago, and now they're just screaming at their own reflection. That's what your silence did. It wasn't defeat, it was dominance, it was grace. It was the discipline of letting fools play their games while you built your kingdom in secret. Every chosen one eventually learns this truth. When you stop reacting, their lies unravel on their own. No resistance needed, no revenge necessary, just truth, time, and divine timing. And now they are stuck in the aftermath of their own performance, exhausted from keeping up the act. Their masks are slipping, their words are cracking, and those who once believed them are starting to feel the shift in their gut. This isn't adding up. You didn't just break free, you shattered their illusion, and you did it without lifting a finger. Never question the power of your silence again. Never doubt the strength it takes to walk away from noise and choose peace over pride. You didn't abandon the fight. You simply understood that not every battle deserves your presence. Some wars are won in stillness, in patience, in the quiet power of healing. You didn't lose time, you reclaimed it. While they were spinning stories, you were rewriting your soul. While they were performing, you were preparing. And now you're not just healed, you're untouchable, and they know it. The second domino has fallen, and the collapse is only just beginning. Number 3, truth ages like fire, and now they're choking in the smoke. Time may not shout, but it never lies. It works quietly, peeling masks away, piece by piece, until there's nothing left to hide behind. Chosen one, they thought the clock was on their side. They believed that if they kept the noise loud enough, if they repeated their lies long enough, time would bury the truth. But that's not how time works. Time sharpens vision. Time rearranges memories until only the real ones remain. And now the very thing they counted on to protect them is the same force burning their false narrative to the ground. It's like a house built on sand, pretty from the outside, but doomed the moment the storm comes. That's the version of reality they created. And when you stepped away, the storm didn't stop. It simply revealed the cracks they'd been hiding. People began to notice what they'd been too distracted to see before. The common denominator was never you, it was them. The chaos, the toxicity, the endless drama didn't vanish when you left. It multiplied, because they no longer had a scapegoat to carry their mess. Without a mirror to deflect their dysfunction onto, it was all laid bare. And that's when you realized you never needed to say a word. Life was speaking for you. When the truth is real, it doesn't need a microphone, it just needs time. And now your silence, the same silence you carried with grace, is echoing louder than all their accusations combined. People are paying attention differently now. They're remembering, they're connecting dots. And the spotlight is shifting naturally to the true source of the rot. While they were busy trying to wound you, you weren't just healing, you were transforming. Their attacks didn't break you, they triggered a metamorphosis so complete that you're no longer even reachable by their old tactics. What once pierced you now glances off like harmless sparks. What used to consume your energy now feels like distant static. You didn't just survive them, you outgrew their entire emotional ecosystem. Every lie they threw at you became fertilizer for your soul. They tried to poison you, and you turned it into medicine. They underestimated you, because they only saw pain as destruction, never as transformation. But, chosen one, you transformed. You shed the skin of who they said you were, and stepped into a truth so strong it makes their lies look childish. Time didn't bury you, it exposed them. Number 4. The lie shattered, but you're still standing stronger than ever. And that is their worst nightmare. You didn't just clear your name, you became the evidence. When the storm didn't break you, it broke their illusion. The best revenge was never payback, it was proof. The louder the lie, the harder it falls. And when truth walks in wearing peace like armor, the entire room feels it. This was the moment they never prepared for. They gambled everything on the belief that their lies would crush you. They bet that your silence was weakness, that the weight of their slander would make you snap, that one day you would break down and become the very story they told. But time passed, and not only did you refuse to fall, you rose, you grew, you glowed. And now your transformation is a living contradiction to every accusation they ever made. Imagine someone building a narrative of you as unstable, manipulative, chaotic, and then walking into a room months later to see you calm, centered, smiling and unshaken. You move with grace. You speak with warmth. You don't flinch when your name comes up. That isn't just healing, that's evolution, and it shakes the foundation of their entire script. Here's what's wild. People are noticing. The same ones who once nodded along with the smear campaign now find themselves standing beside. This is no longer about their words, it's about what people see. Your peace is loud, your stability cuts sharp, your truth is echoing in rooms you haven't even entered yet. No matter how many versions of the lie they try to sell, it no longer fits, because you've become the contradiction, the walking, breathing proof that they lied. And they are running out of places to hide from that fact. Chosen one, the fourth domino didn't just fall, it exposed the entire blueprint. You didn't just survive the fire, you walked out of it, holding the plans for your own rebirth. And that, more than anything, is what they can't stand. Number 5, they wanted you broken, but you came back whole, holy, and unshakably real. They tried to fracture you, to grind you into pieces, never realizing that pressure doesn't always create dust. Sometimes it creates diamonds. The deepest fear of a liar isn't just being exposed, it's having to watch the person they tried to destroy rise again. Unbreakable, you didn't just grow, you became a force of gravity, steady, undeniable, impossible to ignore. You now hold the very presence they swore would collapse. They orbit around the energy they once dismissed, drawn in despite themselves. You went silent and returned sacred, chosen one. And if they weren't afraid before, they are now. Your transformation has crossed into a realm they can't deny, can't mock, and certainly can't explain away. This isn't simply emotional healing. This is spiritual evolution, so profound it changes the atmosphere when you walk in. It's the kind of ancient presence that commands attention without a single word. At first, they thought you were just quiet, hiding, licking your wounds. But what they see now is a calm they can't fabricate, a steadiness they don't understand, and a peace that haunts them because it proves they never broke you. They may have delayed you, distracted you, even wounded you, but they couldn't touch your core. Now that you're standing in your full power, their illusions are gasping for air. Picture a storm tearing through, ripping everything apart. When the sky clears, it isn't the loudest house that stands tall, it's the deeply rooted tree that didn't even sway. That's you now. Your presence is no longer about proving your worth. You are the worth. You walk in truth, and that energy rearranges the room. People feel it. Strangers sense it. They may not know your full story, but they know something in you has shifted permanently. And that's what eats at the enemy's soul. This growth isn't a mask. You didn't patch yourself up with forced smiles or cheap positivity. Your glow is genuine because your pain was real. You went through the fire and let it shape you. Where others would have hardened into bitterness, you softened into strength, the kind that bends for no one. You let betrayal teach you, but never define you. They once called you reactive. Now you respond with clarity, so calm it unsettles them. They said you were bitter. You carry a peace that makes them itch. They swore you were fake, yet now every note of your energy rings true. Imagine them crafting a weapon to destroy you, only for you to melt it down into gold and wear it like royalty. That's your life now, and they can't cope, because this isn't performative. It radiates without effort, etched into your energy field. You've become unshakable, and that terrifies anyone who once fed off your instability. They now have to watch as people lean into your light, respecting you, trusting you, seeking shelter in the peace they once tried to shatter. You were painted as the villain, yet now you're the refuge. You were labeled the problem, yet now you are living proof that healing is real, possible, and unimaginably powerful. This is where their panic turns into silence. Not because they've changed, but because they have no words to explain how you won without ever fighting back. Deep down, they know, you didn't just recover, you became untouchable. The fifth domino didn't fall quietly, it rang like a bell through every room they once lied in, and its echo isn't stopping. Number 6. The web of lies snapped because people began connecting the dots. You can fool people for a while, but never forever. Eventually, even the quiet ones start whispering the truth. A false narrative can only survive as long as no one is paying attention, but the second people start watching, it begins to collapse. And that's exactly what happened. When they realized you weren't the villain in the story, the whole script crumbled like a poorly written play, with no real plot. You didn't fight their lies, you outlived them. This is the moment your enemies never saw coming. The crowd waking up. No matter how loud someone lies, time trains people to see. Patterns emerge. Stories stop adding up. The same audience that once nodded along now starts to tilt their heads, wondering if you were truly as toxic as claimed. Why are you the one who looks healed? Human beings are wired to spot patterns, and as people saw you show up calm, grounded and consistent day after day, week after week, month after month, the spell began to crack. You didn't retaliate, you didn't unravel, you didn't gossip, you simply kept evolving. And the contrast between your peace and their constant chaos became impossible to ignore. Imagine two people walking through the same storm. One emerges dry, glowing, and steady. The other, still drenched, screaming at the clouds, blaming everyone for the rain. Who do you think people start questioning? That's exactly what happened. Quiet observers began comparing notes. They remembered moments. The puzzle pieces started clicking together in private minds, in silent glances, and in hushed conversations. You never needed a defense squad. The watchers became your witnesses. They noticed how drama followed your accuser from place to place while you remained grounded. They noticed how you evolved while your accuser stayed stuck, recycling the same bitterness. They're not speaking yet, but they're thinking, and their silence is no longer agreement. It's reflection. Your enemies are now trapped in the snare they built for you, because the more they try to defend their lies, the more absurd they look. If they're unstable, people think, why do they move with grace? If they're manipulative, why do people feel safer with them than with you? These quiet questions are eating away at your accuser's credibility. Every time they open their mouth, their position weakens. While you've been living proof of healing, they've been stuck in the same pit, throwing stones from the same spot, clinging to a story that no longer matches the reality you embody. Their script has expired, yet they hold on to it as if it's gospel. They can't change it without admitting they were wrong. They can't keep it alive without looking obsessed. Now their story carries no weight, not because you exposed them, but because reality did. You became the living contradiction to their character assassination. It's like them holding up an old, torn photo of you while the real, evolved, glowing you walks into the room. The disconnect is undeniable, and they feel it. They sense the stares, the quiet doubts, the unspoken questions in the eyes of people they once controlled. Their influence is crumbling fast. Chosen one, you never needed to raise your voice. You just needed to keep walking. And now, the people who matter most are finally seeing the difference between noise and truth. They're seeing you. And the sixth domino didn't just fall, it shattered the illusion for everyone watching. Number 7. They thought they were breaking you, but the universe was only breaking you open. True initiation doesn't arrive with cheers or applause. It comes wrapped in fire, silence, betrayal, and the kind of pain that forges diamonds from dust. They believed they were punishing you when, in reality, every hit was preparation. And now, you move like someone who has met themselves in the dark and survived the conversation. You didn't just level up, you woke up. What they meant to destroy you became the doorway to your spiritual authority. Now you walk like someone who remembers exactly who they are. That's all for today. Dear Father, I pray for the growth of my faith. Help me trust you even when physical evidence is lacking. Let me believe in your perpetual presence, knowing you will never harm me. I understand that your thoughts for me are thoughts of prosperity and not harm, to give me a good future. Thank you, gracious and eternal Father, for always listening to my voice. I offer up this prayer to you in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you, Jesus, for your love and provision. I am grateful for your presence in my life and the abundance you bring. If this video resonated with you, please like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with those who need to hear this message. Leave a comment below about your journey and how you are preparing for your own triumphant return. If you'd like to support our work,